the disqualification probation students. So for me, this was really important as far as early alert, but also more than anything is kind of closing the loop. So what I'm hoping is, because I refer students to faculty, health center, tutoring, is just being able to find out, did they go and what happened and how did it go? And so this is a place where I could manage my students, kind of case management to find out whether they actually went and did it help, and just making sure they got to where they were supposed to go.
Audrey.
Morning, everyone. It's so fun to see so many familiar faces. Thank you for being here. My name is Audrey, and I just recently transitioned over to the Math and Science Division. Woohoo! As the project director of our Title V STEM grant. Prior to that, though, I was working in student services as Heather's counterpart, really, another retention specialist. And so I was overseeing many of the early alert efforts, and we were doing that work very piecemeal. So many of you were participants of our early alert program by sending me direct emails, and we were running manual databases and spreadsheets. And to Jessica's point, there wasn't really an efficient or effective way of closing the loop outside of the many spreadsheets and connected conversations that were happening. And so by a click of a button, we all are going to see a more clear 360 view of the student and the services that they're receiving. So that's why I've been a part of this project, and kudos to Kate, Erin, Heather, Jessica, Laura. The amount of work and time we spend on Zoom together each week is countless. And so, yes, they deserve a huge round of applause for the time that it's been to build out this for you all today.
Thanks, Audrey. I'm going to pivot over to Kyle, who's at District IT, but very much a member of our implementation team. Kyle, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm from IT, and I'm in charge of getting data from Banner into Starfish. And I'm on this project because I was on the project for Coastline when they implemented. So it was very nice to be able to recycle a lot of the code. And yeah, Erin is finding new ways for me to have to write new code, but that's my job. So it's enjoyable so far.
Awesome. Okay. So that is the implementation team. I don't think I've missed anyone. I'm now going to go ahead and go through our attendees. Thanks again for being here. Let's start with Jeannie Neal.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jeannie Neal. I teach in business and computing, more specifically the accounting department. And I was really attracted to the name Starfish, so that kind of drew me in. And the more I learned about it, the better I felt about it, because I really like connecting with my students. And I think this is going to help us more closely monitor those students. And I think they're going to appreciate that, knowing what services are provided right up front.
Nice. Thanks, Jeannie. Looks like next one up, Brent Redman.
Hello there. Is my mic working okay?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm Brent, and I teach over in the history department. And basically, I am here today as a representative from that history department. We teach lots and lots and lots of general ed courses, of course, and anything we can do to reach our students better that need help is anything I'm interested in. I don't know much about Starfish, and so that's why I am here really today, is to learn a lot more about it and hopefully understand what this program is and see how we might be able to work with it.
Awesome. Thanks, Brent.
Sure.
I will say also, our chat is being monitored by the lovely Audrey Krause and the rest of us as we can. So if you do have a question that comes up as we're going along, please feel free to drop it in the chat. Next up, we have Jennifer Williams.
Hi, everyone. I am Jennifer. I'm from the athletic kinesiology department. I joined Starfish. Erin reached out and sent me an email, and I said, I'd like to find out more information about this. Anything we can do to help our students. I mean, that's just the reason I hope we're all here. So I'm just excited to learn more. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Okay, Arabian, you're up.
All right, good morning, everyone. Arabian Morgan here. I teach accounting along with Jeannie. Good to have a fellow teacher with me here today. And my interest in Starfish is I am one of the lead coordinators for the Guided Pathways group. And one of my responsibilities will be to kind of champion, for lack of a better word, different tools to help students stay on any particular pathway that they choose. And so this is definitely one of those tools. So really looking forward to getting this implemented this summer and hoping to see it flourish over the next couple semesters amongst the faculty.
Awesome. And next up we have one of my friends from the Starfish Intervention Team, Sharana Polk.
Hi, can you all hear me? Yes? Okay, great. So my name is Sharana Polk, and I am an instructor in the Communication Studies Department, and I am also on the Guided Pathways Intervention Committee. And so I've been hearing Kate and Aaron talk a ton about it, and I just wanted to get involved. And just like everyone else here, you know, the more that we can help our students, the better we're doing our job. And I just want to help them out as much as I possibly can.
Awesome. Karen Baker.
Hi, good morning. My name is Karen Baker and I teach in the Marine Science Department. And I'm here for two reasons. One, Erin, thank you so much for inviting me. There was a little arm twist. No, I'm just joking. One of the things I always notice every semester is that some students will reach out for help, and then there's a lot of students that don't reach out for help. And so I'm excited that there will be an opportunity to help me connect those students that are not necessarily reaching out. But also, I only know of a few resources for students, and I know we have a lot more than I realize. And so I'm excited to connect the students to that. And that's really all I know about Starfish. Other than that, I know nothing. So nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Karen. Genevieve Zwiderbar.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Genevieve Zwiderbar, and I teach in the English department. And I guess I'll echo a lot of folks in here. I'm just sometimes feel a little ineffective on how to help my students. And obviously it's been a rough year, and I'm interested in anything we can do to help with their success and retention. So I'm happy to be a part of this and see if we can, you know, something to bring back to all the departments and share. So good to be here.
Thanks, Genevieve. Zwiderbar, am I saying it right now?
There's never been a right way. Zwiderbar is fine.
Okay. I was saying Zwi, so I was like, is that wrong? I went with French. Is that bad?
Fine.
Okay. Thanks for being here. Kelly Elliott.
Happy Friday, everyone. And thank you, Erin, also for reaching out. I am Kelly Elliott. I'll be representing the Environmental Science and Ecology Department this summer, but I mostly teach in the Biology Department. Like many of you, trying to connect with my students, sometimes I'll send out emails to those that seem to be struggling, but then don't seem to hear back from them, especially if they don't show up to class or right now Zoom. And so, you know, finding other ways to maybe have a more campus-wide way to connect with them and with all those resources. So thank you.
Awesome. Stanley Harriman.
Hello, everybody. I'm Stanley Harriman. I teach in the Aviation Science Department. And Erin invited me in to find out more about Starfish, and I'm glad I'm here. I can't believe there's so many committees on campus. It's unbelievable, and I can't imagine what the students are going through in terms of what resources there are on campus. So excited to see how we can connect with students, make the student learning experience a little bit better, right? And or a lot better. And so I'm excited to work on this project with you guys.
Awesome, happy to have you. Kelly Holt.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Kelly Holt, and I teach in the Radiologic Technology program in the Allied Health area on campus. So I am here because Jackie Campus said, "You're signing up, right?" And I said, "Oh, of course. Yes, I will absolutely be there." And of course, you know, I support Erin and all of her great work as well, and everyone else. So yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm excited. My husband uses Starfish at LBCC. So I hear him kind of talk about it a little bit. So hopefully we can implement and, you know, help our students, you know, succeed and move on. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Nice. I'm glad I wasn't the only one that was sending specialized emails and twisting arms. Thanks, Jackie, for that. Thomas Stevenson.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Thomas Stevenson. I'm here representing the DSPS department. My main reason for joining this is closing the gap between students and them being able to receive help. And I see a lot of familiar faces and names here, which is great because that means that we have a better chance of helping our students be successful. So thank you for allowing me to take part.
Thank you. Okay. Todd, is it Todd Oben or Todd Aubin?
I French, I think it's Odin, but I go by Aubin. So just call me Todd.
Okay. I was just very excited about Obin, so go ahead.
And my French is awful. My name's Todd Aubin. I work at the Student Success Center where we offer tutoring services, and I think I'm going to be one of the people that's going to be helping everyone here completing the loop.
Thank you, Todd. Brian Stockert.
Good morning. My name is Brian Stockert. I'm the director of the Disabled Student Services Program on the campus. I'm also a learning disability specialist, so I work with students who learn differently. I'm curious to see how Starfish is different than Civitas Inspire, which was the program that we had at my previous institution. And DSPS uses Clockwork for scheduling, which is a very efficient system. So I'm hoping to see if Kelly Kirby from Starfish was right in saying that her product is better.
Okay, next up, Jamie Speed Rossiter.
Happy Friday. Lots of familiar faces here for the summer. I'm Jamie Speed Rossiter. I am co-chair of the geography department, and I'm also the faculty online coordinator. So Erin had reached out to me. I'm particularly interested in online teaching and how you better connect your students, because very often, you know, when you're teaching hundreds of students online, especially asynchronously, it's hard to keep track of them and make sure that they're doing okay and offer them the resources that they need.
Nice. Debbie Raskin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Debbie Raskin. I'm an instructor in the math department, and I work with a lot of basic skills math students. So I'm really looking forward to this program helping me help them succeed. And so I wanted to be a part on the ground floor so I could learn as much as I can about it. Thanks.
Awesome. Patricia Mucino Ortega.
Sorry, I love how you said my last name. Okay, so I am a counselor, partly general counseling, but partly with the transfer opportunity program with an underrepresented populations and a little bit more higher touch, and kind of seeing how, you know, high touch practices are more effective. I really am looking forward to see how, you know, Starfish can make it also more efficient, because we only have so many hours and we have so many students, and we want to make sure they all get a similar experience. So really excited to see how that might work. Good to see you all.
Awesome. Mr. Lee Gordon. I think we have a slight audio problem, Lee. Can't hear you. Oh. Sorry, Lee.
So I read lips. Lee Gordon is the incoming Academic Senate President and greatest professor in the business department, and he's excited to be here today. All right, there you go.
I will add, I know that Lee is specifically interested in utilizing Starfish with the honors program on campus. So I know that that is a passion of his. So thanks for being here, Lee. Next up, we have Shannon O'Neill.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Shannon.
Oh, okay. I'm with EOPS Care. We are a high-tech program. I just hope this program can help us in any way possible, retain more students, and excited to be included. Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon. Okay. And then Jackie Campus. Did we cover you already when I was troubleshooting? Or not yet? Not yet.
Not yet.
Jackie has been heavily involved, y'all. I would have started off with her.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm really excited to have this training actually happening. You know, from I'm the faculty coordinator of our intervention team, and from the beginning, you know, we kept saying, gosh, we have so many resources on campus. How do we connect students to those resources? And so, you know, we reviewed a few different, what you might call early alert products. And Starfish was the one that kind of stood out for us. And so we vetted it through many different committees, and it was quite a process. And I'm grateful to the implementation team for all the work that they've done. It's been a lot of hours, I know, to make this all happen. So thank you very much. My other hat is I'm the coordinator of our Student Success Center on campus. So I work alongside Katie, and we offer all the tutoring for all the different courses. One thing I did want to bring up was, you know, we're hoping that as part of this pilot process, some of you are going to be making referrals to the Student Success Center. And we need your help in making sure that we have tutors for your courses. So some tutors we already have, but just to be honest with you, we always lose a lot of tutors at the end of spring semester as they transfer, move away, whatever. And so we do need some tutors. So if you have anybody in mind that maybe took your class recently that you might want to recommend as a tutor for the center, please either contact me or Katie or Todd, and we'll kind of take it from there. So thank you for letting me do that plug. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks, Jackie. And then next up, we have Jamie Hitchings, whose doggy picture is just adorable. Hi, good morning.
I'm sorry, I'm not as cute as my dog. So my name is Jamie Hitchings. I'm over here. Well, I guess I'm at home right now, but I'm usually in the film and television department. And I'm here because I am all about equity and student success. And I hope that I can take what I learned today and get my teammates pumped up about this as well, because I'd really like us to all be using this eventually. And fun fact, my biology friends here can help me out. I think there's about 2,000 species of starfish that are known. That's all I got.
Okay, and then last but certainly not least, we have Chris Cairns.
Hey, everybody. This is Chris from the art department. And boy, my students need support. And I'm trying to map that gulf in between the classroom and the services. And so anything I can learn, particularly on sort of the mental health counseling side, I think would be super important. But I know there's a wide range that we're covering. But anyway, so I'm just trying to help them get connected, because I know we have a bunch of services, but it's really hard to make that connection currently.
Thank you. All right. It's so, by the way, I just want to say it's so awesome to see faculty from all these different divisions coming together in one place. I feel like that's not an opportunity we get all the time, so I'm really grateful for it today. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get back to our official presentation. So why Starfish? Some of you shared that you're like, I've heard about it. I don't know that much about it. So Starfish is primarily, we think of it as an early alert system, allowing us to intervene quicker, easier, and sooner for our students. But it's also a student success network. So it allows our students to easily find the services they need for themselves, but also allows you to refer students to those services so you can see what's out there. It presents a holistic student view. So there's actually a student folder in Starfish, which we'll show you, that has all this information about students. So when a student goes to a counselor, it gets updated there. When a student, if you leave a note in the file about something that's going on with that student, everyone along the chain, right? The Success Center, the services, we can all see this collective information so that we can holistically address the students' needs. Closing the loop. So this was one of the most exciting things about Starfish, is that I know that a lot of us working with the early alert program that we had prior, it's sort of like you would submit information and then hope you knew, I hope the student turned out okay and not know what happened on the other end. Starfish will tell you what happened on the other end. So essentially it has a feature which we'll also demo that will allow you to know that the student got help, that it was resolved, that the student didn't get help for some reason. It allows whoever the flag recipient is to leave a note and actually explain what help the student got. So it will allow you to kind of come full circle and know what your action actually resulted in for that student. And then finally, it's really good at relationship building between our students and staff and faculty. Because of that student success network, rather than just seeing strictly services, students are making connections with people, which we know is part of being connected, part of feeling nurtured, and is a factor in student success. So that's why Starfish. Our project timeline. So where are we right now in this timeline? We are sort of in this region. So we're still making some configurations to the production of Starfish. So we'll get into this later, but there is a test environment, or what we're calling a sandbox. And then there's the production, or like live Starfish. So we're still working on configuring that live instance. We're obviously training our end users. That's you, our very first end users, which is very exciting, and hoping to have this pilot for the summer. For fall, we would like to have a full rollout of Starfish available to all sections and all faculty. And then in spring, we're hoping to extend student involvement. So students can actually ask questions in Starfish themselves. And that's something that we have turned on for the summer, so we can see how it goes. You can let us know if it's a high volume thing or how that works out. But that's kind of the 3-phase approach. Is we have this summer pilot, then we have the fall with our instructors in Starfish using Starfish, and then more of a student focus as we come into spring. Oh, whoops. No. There we go. Okay, now we're going to have a little demonstration for you, and it's going to be the life cycle of a tracking item.
All right, so I am going to start. Let me share my screen. So just so you guys know, I have 2 screens, so it looks like I'm not looking at you. It's because I'm looking at my other screen. So I'm not distracted. I'm just focused somewhere else. So as an instructor, you guys can see my Starfish dashboard, right? Okay, and all of our practice things over here in our recent changes. So as an instructor, one of the things that I'm really excited about is the ability to use what we're calling tracking items to help students connect with the various resources that we have on campus. So what we're going to do first is, this is my dashboard. You can see I have upcoming appointments. I've been referring people to tutoring. I have been raising flags. I am also connected to the Student Success Center, so that shows up as one of my services. And I have a whole slew of options that I can do up here. For now, we're going to focus on referring a student to the Student Success Center. So I'm going to go to my student dashboard in my main menu. And we're going to hope it loads. There we go. So up here at the top, we have all of my students. I can look at the people that I have raised tracking items on, and then I have a couple of other options that we'll get to later in the training. So first I want to filter. We're going to look at my spring students because we're going to pick on one particular person. So I'm going to look at and filter by class. I'm going to look at my English 100 class, and I am going to say that Emma needs to visit the Student Success Center. So when I click on this little checkbox, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click on my referrals, and I'll have a drop-down menu of the referrals that we've built out in Starfish so far. So I'm going to choose tutoring, the Student Success Center. I'm going to choose my class. There she is. And then this particular referral allows you to assign a due date. So maybe you really want her to go to tutoring before the next essay is due. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to say, figure this out by Tuesday. And then I am going to type a comment. So this already has a comment built in because we want students to know that they need to register for the Tutor 050 class in order to have access to tutoring. So we kind of put that in here, but also instructors can write their own comments. So please be a tutor for essay number or essay 2. And then down here, you can see all of the different people that are able to see this referral. So our division coordinators, our general counselors, our Success Matters team, all of our support staff in the tutoring center, and then whoever created it. And you'll go over here and you'll click save. And then when you return to your dashboard, loading, 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 you should be able to see it over here in your recent changes. And there's also these kind of toggles for your recent changes. So you can look at all of your activity. If you wanted to refine it, you can look at just things that you've done in the last 24 hours or the last 3 days or the last month. So it just depends on how much you want to see, or if you're looking for something specific, you have those filters right there on your dashboard too. You can also look at just the resolved ones to see which items the loop has been closed on. So you have a couple of view options to help you kind of track what's going on. So that's what a tracking item looks like from the instructor's point of view. I'm going to stop sharing and then we're going to jump into student.
All right, yes, I'm going to be playing the role of Emma this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So now you're seeing the student view in Starfish. I'm currently logged in as Emma. So you can see for summer, we do have this raise your hand piece available to our students. So that's kind of an exciting piece. We'll see how that goes. Under her notifications, I can see that Katie McCarroll has told me that she's concerned about my essay grade. Let's see. This one was actually created yesterday, though. This was our practice one. I'm going to go ahead and refresh. And now I can see that there's the one from today. And it basically just says tutor for essay number 2. So from here, I'm going to check my email for details. So let me just hop on over to my email. Sometimes it does take a few minutes for it to arrive. So I'm going to go ahead and let that keep on routing in the background. But the other place I can look is under messages here. So all of my emails will also appear in this messages tab as a student. So it looks like okay, based on my current grade, I'm not yet passing, here's some tips. And then a note to check out the Student Success Network in Starfish.
Erin, I'm going to pause right there for just a second, because I will say later today we're going to talk about messaging. So the messages that you see are kind of the stock templates, but we're going to kind of change those based on faculty feedback that we get from you guys today.
Correct. Thank you, Kate, for bringing that up. In the Success Network, the student can see their connections. So these are, wow, she is taking quite a few courses. These are all of her instructors for her current courses. She can see her services. She can actually reach out to the service from the Success Network. So yeah, essentially the student is getting her message in potentially 4 different places. So she can set up her profile, and we'll work with you at, and kind of show you how to set up a profile, edit profile for the student. So she can decide that she has an alternate email. So I've put my email in here, so I will get the messages that are supposed to go to Emma for the purposes of this training. But in this case, she's going to see a notification on her main dashboard. She's going to get an email to her institution email, which is default. She can't opt out of that. That's just going to happen. If she also wants an email to an alternate address, she can get it there. And she's going to see it forth at her messages tab. So that's the student experience. From here, she can either reach out and take that advice from Professor McCarroll and reach out to the tutoring center and make an appointment. Or maybe she's not going to do that, right? Maybe she's feeling some trepidation about that, in which case we want the Success Center to be able to reach out to her and be more of an intrusive model. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and refer us to Heather Dominguez, who will be playing the role of Todd, who's here today in the Success Center.
Okay, folks, so let's get the screen here for you. All right, so today for purposes of this training, I'm going to be acting as Todd O'Bean. And as Todd O'Bean, I work in the Student Success Center. And I would come here to, this is my homepage where we started out. So this is what I see right when I come in. And I can see quickly that there's some recent changes down here, and I see this new referral that popped up. So I would see this coming through as it's in real time. If I weren't going to click to it here, I could go over here and click on the, we call this a pancake up there, and or hamburger, it depends on if you want breakfast or lunch, I guess. And then we're going to go down here to our student tab. And this would show me the list of all the students that I have access to. And then all of the things that, the actions that can be done. Specifically, if I want to close the loop on this tracking item, I would want to be in this tracking tab. So I'm sorry, here's the My Students tab, which would have like a lot of students. As you can see down the bottom, there's quite a few. Just to look at the ones that we're currently tracking, I would click on this tracking tab and I would see a list. This list is in date order by creation date. So I can either look at the most recent, which is the default, or I can click this and switch it to and go the reverse direction. So once I'm here, I see this referral has been created. I would, to be able to resolve this, so I'm assuming now that I'm Todd and I've talked to the student and the student has communicated to me, or we've communicated in some way, and they've communicated that they've made an appointment at the tutoring center. And so I'm happy to hear that and know that the student is doing what we've asked. To select the student and resolve this, I would click here in the box next to Emma's name, and then click the resolve button. And this gives me a list of the things, the reasons why I could clear this referral. And I'm going to keep it at the meeting took place. You have all these other options. And then I'm also going to go ahead and put a comment in and say, student has communicated to me that she has made an appointment for next week. Okay, so once I've put that comment in, then I can go ahead and this will automatically send a message out to Katie, the instructor, to close that loop. If I want Katie to see what I put in my comment, I need to go ahead and click copy my comment. And then once that's done, I just click submit. And now the tracking item has left my current tracking items, and it's no longer there because it's been resolved. And that's my part as far as staff member in the Student Success Center.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather. I do want to show you all. I did get that email. If I'm Emma, that email did come through. So I just wanted to let you know, not to worry about it. I wasn't the only one worried about that, right? Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and pivot us back to Kate to see what the instructor sees on their end now that the loop has been closed.
Okay, let me screen share. Do that first. Okay, so let me refresh. Hopefully this works. Okay, so on my main dashboard, I can see today that this referral was completed. So it shows up right there at the top. If I go in and I'm already on my student page and I'm looking at my tracking items, I can also see Emma's name up at the top and that her status has been resolved. And then there's this nifty little feature. If you go to edit filters over here, you have an option to look at just your active tracking items, just your resolved, or both. So say I wanted to just check up on which loops had been closed. I could just look at all of my resolved ones and see when and by whom they had been resolved. I think that's it, right? I'm trying to remember if there's anything. Oh, let me show you guys this. So once I got, no, there we go. Once I got an email that also said that the tracking item had been resolved. So I've been notified via email, and you can see that that comment has also been copied there for me to read. So it also shows up there if I'm looking at it on my phone and not in Starfish proper, I'll still be able to be notified and updated. Okay.
Nice. Okay. So now maybe it's later in the semester and the student wants to meet with a counselor. What would the counselor see on their end? We're going to go ahead and pivot over to Laura Reese for that.
Hello. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And thus far, you've seen everybody opening up to the dashboard page, but we actually have options to set up where you want to open up as your default page. And I have mine set up so that I'm looking at the tracking and I set up the view to see who's assigned to me. But I can go to my students and I know I'm meeting with Emma. So I'm going to go ahead and just search her name so I can get a good picture of what's going on with Emma. And so I can see courses that she's in. I can see her tracking data. So what's referrals she's received. And this is sorting for both. Looking at the resolved. Okay, she's been following through, so that's great. There's still this concern here. but I can see there's still, what's been going on? I don't see that she's been having any meetings. So that's something just to note. There's notes that were provided. So I see that Todd shared that the meeting took place and that she made an appointment for next week. So I could ask the student, did she attend this meeting? So this helps give me a full picture of what the student is going through. I can also add a note myself after I'm meeting with her. And this could be a general counseling note, which would be shared just within the counseling general counselors, or it could be a general shared note that the instructors could see. And maybe she's still struggling. And so I could say, still struggling with academic material, and refer to someone else. This is shared. I can copy the note to the student. I can copy the note to myself. And here you can see who this note is visible to. If I wanted it to be a private note, then it is a private note. Keep in mind, it's still a computer, so admin can see. It's always a good idea. I think everybody knows this. But yeah, so those are options here. Whoops. I'm going to make it a shared note if my keyboard wants to work. There we go. And so this is just a good way to see the full picture of Emma as I'm meeting with her. Did I miss anything?
Let's say you had a really good meeting, Laura. What
Oh,
would you
yes. I can give Emma a kudos. Keep up the good work. Maybe she's struggling, but she's really pushing through. And so keeping up the good work might be a great fit, or just thank you for coming in. Either of those, honestly, could totally work. I'm going to say keep up the good work because I feel like she's a little burnt out because she's not seeing the effort. And I can edit this comment. We can leave it the same or edit because you're doing a great job in class. Keep pushing. We are here. Helps if I spell the right one. And you can see who can see this. Kudo, so same thing. You can always check and see who the permissions are going to be going to. And save. All right.
I love how much genuine care you have for this hypothetical student. It shines through and I enjoy it. Thanks for that. So now we wanted to open up the floor to any general questions about what we've seen in the demo so far. How are we doing?
Erin, may I jump in and just read some of the questions that I don't have confirmed answers for from the chat? So
Sure.
I'll start from the bottom. So Shannon just asked, is it going to pull counseling appointment data? In other words, is our SARS system talking to Starfish?
SARS is not talking to Starfish. However, there is hope for, I don't want to misspeak, there is hope for a transition from SARS to this appointment management system that is in Starfish. That is something that is part of our plan, but needs to happen with a lot of discussion and involvement from our counseling department, which is tricky to do over the summer. So that's something that you'll have to stay tuned to hear more about. For now, we are living in a world of SARS and Starfish for the summer.
Shannon, did that answer or address your question? Yes. Okay. If I don't hear, I'm gonna move on to the next one. But Shannon, feel free to jump in. The other question that I don't have a firm answer on If a student already has an alternate email on the My Coast portal, will that automatically be pulled into Starfish when they're building their student profile?
That's a great question.
I'm
Kyle.
checking the data feed right now to find which email it's. I believe it's going to be populating the student email. And if they have forwarding set up in their Outlook, then to that alternate email, then they should be good to go. But let me double check the code and the file, and I'll come back.
Okay, thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle. And along that same line, is there an alternate way to notify students that have been referred other than their student email? And I would imagine this could include like a text message alert or something along those lines outside of the push notification coming to their inbox.
So far, we're primarily just working with student email and the actual Starfish environment. So that's why it's going to become a critical thing to make sure that our students are going to Starfish and checking in with Starfish, which is something that hopefully we'll be able, the plan is to send y'all tips every week, some Starfish tips as the summer goes on. So this may be something that we address some best practices for kind of nudging your students into Starfish a little more.
And the student can put another email in manually. So they could put their personal in manually, even if it doesn't pull in.
There is a secondary email field that we can populate in the data file. The question is, do we want to? And if we do, which one are we going to populate?
Okay. That sounds like something for the implementation team to consider.
Currently, that field is empty, so
okay.
we won't be writing over anything in the process, but
right. But if
yeah.
we do pushes in the future, this is how our implementation homework meetings go. Y'all are getting a glimpse behind the scenes. But if we do it in the future, will it overwrite a preferred email that a student has entered?
Don't know. We'll have to check with Veronica.
Thanks for the good questions, y'all. I'm writing down preferred.
Me too.
I saw a question about preferred name. That is super important to us, and something that we're working on to make sure that that happens.
I have a question, Erin. It looked like from the faculty perspective, this would be the first time that we could actually see all the classes the students are taking within our within OCC. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, you choose your course from their drop-down list. So I do think you can see the other classes that they're taking.
Okay. Is that in the district or just at OCC?
That's a great question.
I'm not sure. Oh man.
Checking.
We're so glad you're here, Kyle.
Thank goodness for Kyle right now.
There was also a question about logging in via Canvas. Right now, there is a link to log into Starfish from the Canvas Summer Training Shell. We're working on other kinds of integration.
Just checked the student enrollment file is pulling anything with a campus code that is part of the Orange Coast College.
Okay.
So just Orange Coast, not district-wide.
Awesome. And in addition to that drop down that Kate was mentioning, you'll also be able to see the courses in that student file. Real quick, something I haven't said yet, but anywhere where it looks like a student's name is blue and underlined and maybe a link, it is a link, and it's a link to the student file. So feel free to click those. Anywhere you see an icon for one of our tracking items, whether that's a flag or a kudos or a referral, if you click the icon, that gives you more information about that tracking item. So that's something that wasn't immediately clear to me when I went into Starfish. So I wanted to make sure that I said it. Other questions?
New question in the chat from Karen. Thank you, Karen. I saw that you had resources to link students to various resources that will help underperforming and underrepresented. Will other resources also be linked? And sometimes we identify students that might be interested in the honors program, but they don't know anything about it. Multifaceted question, right?
Yes.
So I'm thinking not just for honor students, but maybe veterans, you know, things like EOPS. Are those things also going to be available?
Yeah, so essentially, for those students who already have a relationship with those services, they will see them in their network automatically. And then we have the option about which services we want to display for all students. So then it becomes kind of a balancing act, right? Of what is the likelihood of this being used by most students or being available to most students? Here's an example. We're seeing Emma right now. So right now we're going pretty broad with those that are available in the summer and displaying them for all students.
And keep in mind, the summer is kind of a limited environment. We built out kind of what we thought we could handle, and we're going to continue building things as the summer progresses to get ready for fall. So everything we have on campus isn't represented in Starfish yet. But something like a referral to the honors program was something that we could talk about and maybe do. And that's one of the things that we're looking at too, is you know, what's still needed out there and how we can build that into Starfish to make sure it works for everybody.
So I was originally pulling this up to talk about the raise my hand because there was a question about that. So this is how the student sees the raise my hand. Currently, we only have one. I need help. Very general, we're very much using this as a data tool to see what are students asking for help for. And currently, this is going to go to our Success Matters team, which
is us.
Yep.
Which is growing always.
And then we will connect the student with the appropriate campus resources. But this is what we're going to use to figure out what tools and what questions students are asking.
I saw a question in there about preferred name, and we are currently not sending preferred name. And I'm looking at the file format, and there is not a field in the user file for preferred name at this point. Erin, can you write that down for us to bring up to Veronica?
Absolutely.
Maybe there's another file that has it. If not, with SARS, there is no preferred name field. So we've been putting, I believe we're putting the preferred name in quotes, followed by the given name, or vice versa, but we could follow the same format. Because if you're going to have preferred name on your rosters out of my coast, then, or my OCC, then all of a sudden you go looking for it in Starfish and nope, that person's not here. So that is a good point. Who brought that up? Shannon.
Shannon gets extra credit.
Kudos to Shannon.
I just want to, about preferred name, I think it's also just like extraordinarily important, because if we're trying to get a student services and like if we have a trans student, we're constantly using their dead name, like that's really traumatic and terrible and should not be doing it. So 100%. I would say like not even in a quotes, like it should just be the preferred name that is in there so that there's not a chance that they're getting something with that other name on it. So I think that's like really, really important. Yeah. Like,
yeah, we can code that so that if a preferred name exists, we supply that. And if not, then we put in the first name.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting lots of thumbs up and nodding heads on that. There's a consensus.
Will students know about Starfish if we're implementing it in our summer course? Will they know about it beyond us having to communicate to them, hey, if you need help with something, there is this help feature or raise your hand feature?
Audrey raised her hand. Audrey.
So Erin and I were just chatting about this in a private message. So our focus up until this point has been so much on the building the system that we haven't yet, and I know this sounds crazy, but we haven't yet pivoted to making the resources for the students. So I'm taking the lead on that as far as like kind of a step-by-step guide with a call out to the particular buttons and things that they'll want to see, which will be shared with you all in addition to being available to them via email. So yeah, the answer is yes, and it's not yet created. That's the next portion of our homework session.
Yeah. Yeah, and I recommend putting a blurb in your syllabus about Starfish and your participation in the program, or posting an announcement in your Canvas shell in the first week, letting them know and kind of introducing them to the product as well. And I can write something up and send that out if you just want to steal liberally.
There's another great question in the chat. Shannon takes the gold medal this morning. Shannon has asked, is it a FERPA issue for teachers to see all classes? Great question.
Shannon, why aren't you on our implementation team? So the question about FERPA is one that we have on our radar. So we're going to be looking at meeting with kind of our FERPA experts. So our Dean of Enrollment Services, our Institutional Effectiveness Dean, to sit down and have a chat about, we want to have folks have more information about their students so that they can help them holistically and use that student file feature that's in Starfish. And so at what point do we risk running afoul of FERPA? At what point do we say, this is the line and there isn't a legitimate educational interest in sharing this at this level? So that's something that we plan to workshop this summer to try to figure out where to draw those lines, because it is important.
Ooh, great question. Patricia just asked, are Starfish and all other resources available for dual enrollment students? I know not all resources are available to dual enrollment students. Dual enrollment students can't make counseling appointments. Is that correct? That's not correct.
Actually can. So on the counseling side, that part I know. So they can make counseling appointments, and there's just a differentiation between, we won't counsel how to meet A through G or freshman admission, but we will counsel on how can you make, progress towards IGETC and transfer goals, assuming that you want to go through the community college. It looks like tutoring is. I'm wondering if it might be possible. If there, I don't know who I would contact to kind of get a list of, like, maybe Anna Hanlon, to get a list of, like, here are the resources that are and are not available for dually enrolled students.
Financial aid would not be.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so I'll touch base with Anna Hanlon, because she was doing a whole like training on DE. So I'll take care of that. Thank you. But Starfish, yes?
It's a good question. It's not something I've explicitly looked into, so I just wrote down dual enrollment and also non-credit, because hearing about dual enrollment made me think of them as well and whether they will have access to this. So that's something that I will find out. It's probably going to depend on how they're coded in the system. So I will look into this.
Thank you.
Patricia, on the side of student services support programs, it may be interesting to take inventory of eligibility criteria for some of the work like we've talked about offline, with student equity, EOPS, all of our support programs, and who they're offering resources to. I'm happy to help you with that.
Okay, can you clarify for me? I think it cut off a little bit and I wasn't sure what my to-do item was. Go ahead.
I'll connect with you offline.
Oh, got it. Thanks.
I wanted to talk about the FERPA. So keep in mind, like, I'm faculty and a counselor, but faculty, and I have access to students' classes and grades and all that. I'm pretty sure FERPA probably is not an issue, to tell you the truth, because we work as an agent of the university, and FERPA is about the student and the campus, and we are the campus. And I'm assuming faculty, academic faculty, are in the exact same situation. So there's no third party, and a third party being outside of OCC. So I would think it's unlikely there's a FERPA problem, and not to mention that people are using Starfish at all sorts of campuses. So there's no way we're the first ones asking that question. But because we are all agents of the campus, it's first party, second party, and we are all the second party. So I don't think that's a problem.
I have something. One of the, with classes starting next week, I try to communicate with the students ahead of time to let them kind of know what the syllabus looks like and what the book requirements are. I normally get, and have gotten already, students asking, well, what if I cannot, how can I get the book if I can't afford it? And it's one, I don't want to give them a blanket response anymore of, here's the number or email to financial aid, because I know that there are other little resources to kind of chip away at on campus. Are any of those things able to be populated just in, I guess quickly for the summer classes itself, or, if not, then, for fall, definitely, I'm sure we can put something together.
Okay, Arabian, I'm trying to track here. So I think what I'm hearing is that you're you might be talking about the Success Matters team and making referrals to that body to then sort of work with the student one-on-one and say, okay, you'd qualify for this bucket of funding or this one or that one, or none of these buckets. And so you're really just stuck with the financial aid department and what they can do for you. And so let me put you in touch with your caseworker there. So I think that's kind of what I'm hearing. And yes, over the summer, we are in a state of transition with the Success Matters team. It's sort of our part-timers tend to leave, and then we need to rehire and train up. So a lot of your folks on the implementation team will be working in that role as well while that happens. And then we're hoping to see a broader team available for exactly those kinds of issues in the fall.
And I will say also, when you looked at the student raised hand where it says, I need help, one of the things that we can activate at some point, and probably in the spring, is I need help paying for textbooks. So there will be that specific thing for students to ask about as well, once we're ready to build that out and implement it.
Coming back to an earlier question, it looks like we are bringing non-credit in.
Okay.
And really, it's just checking for someone, student-wise, it's looking for anyone that's taking an Orange Coast class. So it's not looking at whether or not they're dual enrollment.
Yeah, if I could just pop in, I just checked my roster for the summer, and it always has like a little asterisk if someone's under 18, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're dual enrollment. And I don't know if I have any dual enrollment students, at least based on the roster, and then looking at the people on Canvas, there's no indication.
Audrey, did you have a question? Or an answer?
Yes, both. But I want to, Sharana, I see that your hand has been raised. So let's bring your question in and then I'll hop back to what I was going to say.
Oh, thank you, Audrey. So I'm starting to teach on Monday. And so as far as where do I direct students to? I know we're still building that out. Are we saying we're building that out over the weekend? Or is that something that really students will have access if they're taking like a later summer class rather than the early summer classes?
Great question. I'm looking at our fearless leader, Erin. Ah!
I was looking at Kate. That was like a game of chicken.
Yeah.
So essentially, we are going to be sending out the production link next week. We're hoping for like Monday, Tuesday to do that. So look for that. With that, we can include more information about how to direct your students. So right now, y'all got access to this sort of test environment only, while we're still kind of populating users and things in the production environment. So look for that message from us with a tip about how to direct your students in addition to the information that the link is now live for our production tenant.
And if you guys want, I can teach you how to make like the login button that you can put into your own Canvas shells for them to get into their Starfish environment too. Like you guys, I have a little button.
That would be great. Thank you.
I have a quick question about, I don't know that it's necessarily FERPA, and I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. So let's say that I have a student who has a mental health issue, and I want to refer them for mental health services. You had said that, I think that like I can see that they made an appointment, or is that correct?
You're bringing up a really good point, Jamie. So
that's like a HIPAA.
I know.
Like I mean, that's.
It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And here's why. Because we're actually keeping that completely out of Starfish. So you are still going to follow the bit report process, because all of that is HIPAA compliant. They have a really well-oiled machine about how they work. So it's going to go through their system called Maxient. So none of that will happen in Starfish, so that we won't have to worry about that invasion of privacy.
Okay. And my other question was, do students have an option to opt out of this? Because like I have talked to students who you know, might be getting some type of service through DSPS, but also don't necessarily want to share that with an instructor because, you know, for whatever reason, they feel like the instructor might, you know, think less of them or hold against. So like, is there an opt out? Are they automatically opted in, like, for that? Because normally I don't think that would be readily available information for me as a faculty member to see what's happening with that student. The classes, the list of classes, I'm not worried about. That's fine for FERPA, but that other stuff, like that's not necessarily.
Yeah. First off, I just want to say thanks, Jamie, for bringing up so many of these issues that really matter to our students. I appreciate that. But yeah, that's something that we are thinking about as well. So as we're setting up the DSPS service and items for them, they're actually going to be a really strong power user. They're going to be doing success plans and all kinds of cool things in their area. But we're being very mindful of the fact that we want to lock down who can see those pieces of the puzzle, and we're restricting it pretty tightly. So that's another one of those areas that, you know, we need to sort of talk through at what point should anyone outside of DSPS be able to see this, you know, and so far we haven't set it up that way.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, I don't know if Starfish is capable of this, but if there's an option, like an instructor wants to view this, the student can set, like, has to say, yeah, my instructor can see this thing, or no, I don't, you know, I don't give permission for my instructor to see this thing, or something like that. And, you know, I'm a huge pain in the butt about student privacy. It's like, it's my soapbox. So yeah, I wouldn't want to see, like, I would worry that people would just, you know, automatically, have access to all this information, and that students don't necessarily want, like, if somebody is getting, you know, help from something else on campus, they might not want their instructor to know about that help. So
right.
A lot of that is how the permissions are set up. And like when we went in and looked at the student file, it doesn't look the same for every person. So a faculty member sees different things than the general counselor sees, than a support service staff member sees. So the permissions are all set up mindfully and sometimes painfully by the implementation team. And so it's all like, it's basically all manually clicked in and decided. And so those things are being considered as we build everything out.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Erin, are we ready to talk about messaging?
Let's talk about messaging.
Okay, so as we kind of demonstrated in our life cycle of a tracking item, a lot of emails will get will go out to students. And so one of the things that we're really concerned about and what we want to be mindful of is the tone in which we craft those emails. And so we have kind of a little poll for you to where we give you, I think we give you 2 different messages, one for like an attendance concern, and the other one is in danger of failing, which is one of our tracking items that we'll be using this summer. And you'll have 2 versions of each message. And one is, I don't know quite how to describe it, kind of growth mindset, touchy feely. And then the other one is a little bit more, it has a little bit more distance, a little bit more space. And we're just kind of curious, you know, the tone in which we want these messages to go out. So what I'm going to do is, if I can figure this out, give me a second. Okay, that's good. I'm going to send in the chat a Google poll. And we're going to give you everybody just a few minutes to kind of read through the 2, or I guess really the 4 options. And there's also a place for everybody. Sorry. Let me just take, no, whatever. I'm more prepared than this, I promise. Okay. So you'll have a few minutes to kind of read through, tell us what you think, and there's also space if you want to kind of type in your own message so that the implementation team has kind of other options, other wording that we maybe haven't considered. And the other thing that I'll point out is that this was discovered yesterday, is that we can put live links to services into the email templates. And so this is really the main wording, but the email messages will also, or may also, depending on the service that it's going to, have instructions or a link to that service that the student will be able to click into. So there might be, when you start to get those messages rolling out to students, there might be more than just what you're seeing here, but it'll be more technical, you know, how to register for the tutoring class in order to get an appointment with a link to that service, that kind of thing. Okay. So you should be able to kind of take our little messaging poll and then we can talk about it. Give everybody a few more minutes.
Jamie, I'm happy to cue that up if it's not going to be stuck in everyone's head for the rest of the day. Erin and I ran a flex session in which we did play the Jeopardy theme song.
I instinctively just start singing it in my head too, Karen.
I know, so here we go. Only 15 seconds.
Are you selling this? My neighbor is.
Ads.
And I will say I'm happy to read options if writing, like drafting one on the spot was too much pressure. If you want to email me things that you ponder or that marinate later, I can bring that to the implementation team as well.
Kate, when we have a 15-second countdown, let me know and I'll play our song.
We have 19 people, so when we get to 20, I'll let you play, and then we'll go on to discussion.
Beautiful.
All right, go for it, Audrey.
All right, team, here we go.
All right, so if you aren't done, go ahead and continue to, read and assess, but I'll open it up for a little bit of discussion. I see a lot of people in the chat wanting kind of a blend. So what called out to you about these messages, what didn't?
Okay, I'll go. I like Arabian's comment that he wants the kind of slightly longer language that offers hope on that first contact. But one of the things that really I don't know, when I see students, I tend to, at first, I was like super, super nice, like really sensitive about how to say you're kind of not quite at a 2.0, you know what I mean? And I was trying to be like really, really nice. And what I noticed is, in my experience, it seemed to kind of have this enabling vibe to it. And so one of the things that I've been saying, kind of like, here's really what's happening, like, here's the accurate piece, but at the beginning and at the end, like letting them know, I accept you as a person. There's nothing wrong with you. We just need to change this behavior, or we just need to help you get on track. It may not even be a behavior on the student side, and just communicating that piece of like, hey, maybe even usually I start with the question of like, hey, is everything okay? We didn't see you in class. That's one of like the biggest things that has helped, is more asking like, is everything okay? Here's where your grade is, boom, boom, boom. I know this is not a reflection of you, and so I want to help you get back on track. So that was like the biggest thing for me, is just to kind of combine like the accuracy of the situation, but then the support as well.
I'm writing that down.
I like Chris's option of like, if there's a drop down menu and where we can select depending upon the student. There's been a couple of times where, you know, I don't know, a student kind of sees you as a mom role, and I want it to be very clear that I'm not their mother. And so, you know, depending upon that student, if I go too touchy-feely, then that gets us into, you know, an interesting dynamic that I don't want, right? Versus other students that you just know based on their interaction where touchy-feely may be more appropriate. And so I like the idea of I have options depending upon my interactions with the students, what would be best as far as reaching out to them.
So the email templates don't really have the options, but every tracking item has a comment box where you can type in and your own comments and kind of set the tone for that meeting. So that comment box is really where you would want to like reinforce the things that you wanted to say in the way that you wanted to say them. And so the email templates are a little bit vague for a reason, so that you have that option and it pulls your comments into that email, so that it'll be in both places.
Okay.
I had made a comment with online asynchronous classes. Attendance is actually work submittal, but it still counts as attendance. And so, you know, make sure you come to the next class. Like having a different option for an online class would be, you know, a good. I don't know exactly what that language would look like, but they're not coming to my class, but they still need to be attending my class, and it's not just logging into the class. That doesn't count. So
I was just writing that in the comments. Yeah, it's more about participation in the class than anything when it comes to async. I know what you mean.
Yeah, because even for last date attendance, like they could have been logging in last week. It's the last assignment they submitted. Like that's the last date of attendance.
Asynchronous might need its own tracking item, Aaron.
And I don't know how many, once we open back up fully, I don't know how many of those kinds of courses we will still have, but I'm sure there'll be some.
There'll be a lot. I mean, there was quite a few before. So, and you know, that is a really, I use the Canvas gradebook to say like, you were missing this last assignment. And so I send out messages that way, but you know, to be able to do it through Starfish kind of more holistically would be great.
Any comments on the in danger of failing tone? The second option.
I usually, unless I know the student is just, they can't recover at all, I usually just say, it looks like you're on track not to pass this class or not be successful in this class. But again, it goes back to kind of, is that student responding to anything I'm sending them in terms of emails, in terms of how I really want to phrase it? So, because some people, it doesn't really, it's no difference from a faculty member's perspective whether you have to record a D and F or the student withdraws, but mentally on the faculty member, sometimes you want them just to withdraw so you don't have to put a D or an F. So.
Yeah, and again, the comment box, I think, is the place to put specifics because the in danger of failing will go to the Success Matters team to reach out and check in. And so that's where there might be things that they can bring up or that might get through, they answer their phone or connect with the Success Matters team as well.
I also, and I didn't put this in the form, but like telling them like, because it was like, please contact me to do an action plan. And like I always tell students, like, I'm like, my job is to help you and to help you succeed in this class. And if I don't know what's happening, I cannot help you. So like sometimes they don't even know where to start and they don't even want to email you and be like, oh, I've just messed this up so bad. But that kind of like, I am here to help. And like, that's, my job is to help. yet, but I can't help you if I don't know. So.
So I'll bring up a point. I know that Erin mentioned earlier that she's, really hopeful that we will get some Canvas integration with Starfish going. But I know that in the past, we were always encouraged as faculty to communicate with the student as much as possible through Canvas so that there's kind of a record of those things. And so without the integration, if we communicate through Starfish right now, there will be a disconnect if someone were to go back and look later on to verify that, it looks like the faculty member was doing their part to really help you, kind of thing. So just some food for thought as we have hope for integration.
Unless one option to that could be if you raise the flag and then in the comments say, please see Canvas notes or please see message on Canvas. So there's some documentation that messaging has been given to the student in Canvas because Starfish does do a really nice tracking so that you can see all of the communication from every party involved since that flag was raised. So then if there's some kind of note saying that there's more on Canvas, that could kind of bridge the gap in the meantime. Just an idea.
Yeah, I like that too as kind of a both and. I like to message students like who are missing assignments through the Canvas gradebook, but then noting that if you're now raising an in danger of failing flag, like you've been notified several times through Canvas that this is a growing issue. I just want you to know I'm now raising this flag to connect you to other resources. Something like that in the comment box might help other people looking at the tracking item know that you've been trying to do your part for some time before this flag went up.
Yeah, I would think that we would be sending this message out before there was no option to help pass the class, right? So if they get to that point where there's nothing that can be done and their grade is going to be a D, F, or, if they make it to the W, then that's another messaging. But this is, from my perspective, this seems to be the message, like they're borderline and there is that option to pass if they contact us.
Ideally, you would want to raise the flag the sooner the better if you can see a pattern being developed, because that type of counseling has different has different resources that you would provide the student. But then at the end, the student could still use advisement and counseling related to what now if they are going to fail this class, or if they were dropped from the class, what do they do now as far as their progress overall in their academic journey? So both are helpful.
That's worth pointing out too, is that all of the connections that instructors have with their students is pulled in through Banner. And once a student drops your class, that connection with them is severed, right, Erin?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so I may be off base here, but I think I'm hearing an underlying theme. So I'm gonna go out on a limb, and if I'm wrong, just go like this. But I think what I'm hearing is there's a desire to, and while we wait for the integration between Starfish and Canvas, there's a desire to have more access, quicker access to resources beyond just the network that's being built within Starfish. So what I mean by that is Kate had mentioned that in some of the email or some of the messages, you can provide direct links to additional resources, but maybe having a directory of those direct links for that quick access. Am I touching on anything that?
Audrey, for me, this is the most important thing, is to somehow have a comprehensive list of resources to be able to refer students easily. Like right now, I feel like I have to remember different access points for every single student resource. So at least for me, it's super important. I'm trying to figure out a way, if I just create my own PDF that lists everything and all the contact routes, but that's why I'm kind of interested in Starfish, is how much integration will we get there.
I agree with Chris on that. That would be amazing if there was a way to integrate resources through Starfish like that. That's great.
And even if it starts as a list and then builds out from there, but at least one place to look would be great.
I want to also say that student services redid their website, and it is a pretty good place for students to go, more user friendly. And I'll put the link in the chat, but there's a lot of information for them there, and it's with the new website format, and it's much cleaner and much nicer. So
Jamie, thanks so much for pointing that out. And so I want to make sure I'm understanding the desire correctly, Chris and Brent. Thank you for jumping in. So more than just the people, right? Because we're building the direct link to individuals within Starfish. So more than just that, we also want a directory of the resources at large, right? Like the actual programs, maybe not just a support person within that program, but information about the program in general. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think not knowing a lot about Starfish, I'm starting to understand it's more about the Student Success Center. And my initial hope was that it was more comprehensive. So, which would be incredibly complicated and hard to do, I get that. But yeah, if we at least had a good resource, kind of like, Jamie just sent the list there, or at least the link to the website, where it's kind of a list, but something that's more than a list, at least to start off with. Like, this is what this is about. This is the best way to contact. So this example looks like a good place to start, but I think we have more than that. And in particular, even in like the financial aid, I know there's so many subgroups. So being able to see those subgroups would be awesome as well.
Just a side note, in Canvas, on the left-hand menu, there is a student service tab right above Canvas Help that has all the student service information.
It's the little graduation cap.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's all of the student, and that's in the sidebar so that students have access to it too. So that takes you to this page. And then what we have right now in Starfish, so these are the services that we have for the summer. So again, it's a limited environment while we continue to build out all of the other services to launch for the fall, but this will be comprehensive in the fall with really everything that we offer. And this is in, I'm logged in as the instructor. This is in the services tab in my main menu.
That sounds great. And I guess the perfect world future phase would have that same integration of who contacted when and who followed up and that sort of thing. But I get that's a big wish.
Chris, we're all about making dreams come true. Miracles happen once in a while if you believe. Together we have to believe. Aaron, redirect this comment if not true. We have been inviting individuals from each of our support programs in concession, right, to build out their network as it fits for the services that they offer. So in the time that we've had to build this program, we haven't been able to make touch points with every single service. So as we continue to build out, Chris, we will be, you will start to see more and more of those programs available or visible within the student network. but we haven't been able to take the road show all around campus just yet.
It's yeah, just a quick comment. It's been a really cool thing to have the services come to the implementation team. They get to kind of get a better feel for Starfish while we build out their particular service and set it up the way it should work for them. But we also get to hear more about what they do, and in sort of the spirit of connection and, you know, uniting all of the college wings. It's been a really cool experience. So we do plan to do a lot more of that over the summer. That tends to be a better time for some of our services rather than like that April, May rush.
So we have just a few more minutes before our scheduled lunch break. Are there any other comments, questions that people have in general that we can answer in these last few minutes before we release you to eat? Or ideas on how you might use it? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I have a question for just anyone who wants to hang around right after we break, because it's probably not applicable to everyone. We've got a lot of student support, I think, for the GE-oriented majors. But for my art students, I can't really send them to the tutoring. If I don't know who the right person is to talk out of your group, but I'll hang around after when we take our break of, you know, what road to go down to help resolve that.
Is it them needing supplies?
No, it's just no. So they could receive tutoring in art. You know, how to do this thing we're working on better, which I get that's a limited pool of students compared to the students taking math or English or history. But kind of how to resolve that. But I just don't know the right person to talk to, but they're probably on this call.
Chris, it would be me. This is Jackie. It would be me. So,
okay, yeah. If you have a few minutes after I don't want to drag everyone else through it. That would be awesome.
All right, cool.
All right. Well, if we don't have any questions, I don't mind tacking on an extra 10 minutes to our lunch/bathroom breaks. Any objections? All right. So I believe we want everyone logged into the Starfish Canvas training shell and the Starfish test environment when we get back from the break, and we're going to have you guys play in the sandbox. So eat, rest, and then come back logged in, ready to play.
Hi, Chris. This is Kelly Holt. I also teach in a very specific kind of discipline. And so just a little advice that has worked for me in terms of getting tutors and things is you kind of have to grow your own. I had a retired faculty member that I recruited to come back and to help. And then now, unfortunately, she passed away, but now I have some current students that have gone through and a graduate that is willing to come back. So that's kind of been my approach, is looking at retired faculty or students that have excelled or succeeded in your area that have the time, and then, you know, just connect them with Jackie and Victoria, and they just kind of take them in from there. So anyway, that's just my thought.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that, because my really distant understanding is we kind of have current students be tutors. Is that right, Jackie, in general?
We can hire current students and non-students. So we have all levels, from peer students to those working on their bachelor's and master's, and even a couple of master's level students, or master level graduates who work as tutors in the center. So, and depending on what the class is, you know, sometimes it makes more sense. I know for photography, a few years ago, we actually sent somebody to their lab instead of having students come to the center because we didn't have the setup that they needed for the tutoring. So sometimes it makes more sense for us to send a tutor to you rather than.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, you know, instead of having students come to the center. So those are all things that we can work around and do.
So how does the general structure work as far as hiring a tutor, you know, paying them? How long do they normally go for? I imagine you probably have short-term students as tutors, but because I'm thinking, so we've got obviously a bunch of specialty art classes, but we've got 2 that we probably have 6 to 10 sections of. And I imagine there's sort of a minimum threshold of the amount of students that you would have to then have a tutor for, but I'm just guessing there.
Yeah, typically, but you know, we also find that, you know, if there's an instructor who is supporting having their students going for tutoring, that we tend to get more referrals, obviously, for that class. So
so would it be possible if we, you know, found someone who'd be interested in tutoring to, I don't know, have more of a designated window and have them in the art center building? You know, with,
yeah,
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, we'd need to talk about what the classes are. And we're running what we called an embedded tutoring program for a while, which is basically sending tutors to the classrooms instead. And depending on the class, if it's mostly lab type class, then it doesn't make sense to have a student or a tutor meeting with students in the center. But if there is content material that goes along with that, then that's something that they would be more likely to cover in the center. So like if it's a art history class, then that's probably something, for example, a student could come and work with a tutor in the center. But if you're talking about an actual drawing class or, you know, whatever else it is, then that would make more sense for a tutor to come.
Yeah, I think it would be that our drawing class is kind of our, because it's also a GE class, so we get a really wide range of students from multiple majors at lots of different skill levels. That'd probably be the place to start. But yeah, it'd probably be better in the art center building than in
yeah,
the
and
center.
then going back to your question about the tutors, we have all kinds of tutors, and typically we require tutors to work 10 hours a week, but for some of the more specialized programs, that doesn't always work out. So some of them may only work 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, whatever it is. And they may, you know, exclusively be in the classroom instead of in the center. So, you know, all those things are options.
Okay, and is it, how are they paid? Like I've got work study students, but it's probably not that, I'm guessing, or, you know.
No, we hire them. So we do have an application process that, you know, that students fill out an interest form, which they can find on our website. And then they do have to fill out district application as well.